Okay, welcome to the final module of this Django REST Framework course. In this video, we will be doing some testing of our new API app, writing some test cases, and just kicking the tires, making sure it all works. Okay, so let's not waste any time. Let's jump straight into it. Okay, so module 8, final module, last one of this course. We've flown through, I think it's taken like an hour and a half to go through everything. We've built a contact or core app with a contact endpoint, an e-commerce app with a couple of endpoints, done some testing, and we've got it all Dockerized so we can call these endpoints in Docker. Really, really good stuff. And hopefully you can take this app, wire it into your own project, and you'll hit the ground running. You know, that's the whole point in this, right? So you can carry on your learning journey outside of this course. That's the whole point of it. So before I jump into it, drop me a like, add a comment. If you've followed along all the way, just let me know if you want anything else in here. If I've done something really, really poor, I could do something better. Just give me some comments. I'll make sure the next course is a little bit better. To give you some idea, in the last Django course, I had some guy, I forget the chap's name now, add some comments and just told me that I need to do less flicking other tabs because it gets a little bit confusing. So I'll try to make sure I do that in this course. So also subscribe and click the bell. Helps me grow the channel. So module 8. Let's do some testing. Let's open up the steps. Module 8 follows on from module 7. Everything's done. Just need to make sure that it all works now. So we need to do some testing, create some test cases. Let me do preview so it looks a little bit better on the screen. There we go. So your directory should look like this. Pause it, double check. Okay, I'm not going to dwell on that too much. You can always clone down from GitHub the new module 8 branch, and then you're up to speed with where we are. Okay, let's do some tests. So what you want to do, pick up all of this. I've got loads going on. And then we'll walk through it, right? So going to back end, e-commerce, going tests, paste it all in there, click save. Okay, familiar with Django, you'll know that all of our apps should have unit tests and automatic testing, so that when we're firing these apps up, we make sure that any changes we make down the line doesn't affect our application. So well-written tests are really, really powerful. Again, we are using a built-in API client and the API test case from REST framework. This allows us to construct a client to make calls in test mode rather than having to fire up Docker or do a curl request. And it just tests the endpoint. And if the endpoint is giving back the expected response, then you can do an assert true. And yeah, all is good. That's what we're going to try and do. A little bit more complex in this one. There's a lot more going on. You can see on the right here, there's loads of test cases. But let's go through them so you can understand what we're trying to do. The setup method in this test is creating some items. So let's go ahead and create some items here, which is called item objects create. This is going into a test database. So title, description, price. Remember, this is pounds and pennies or cents and dollars, wherever you are in the world. Stock 20. So it adds some stock and it adds a price to some items. They're just fluffy items. They're not really doing anything. We create self items, which is just a query set. So this will return, at this point, it will return 5 items from the database. We create a self user. So the self user is, we create a user in a database. Okay, so there's a user. Remember, there's a signal. So when that user is created, we also create a token. So from self user, we can then get a token, which we come on to. Create 2 orders. So a couple of orders are created. Item first. So this is always the first item that I'm using here. And the user is the first user that we've just created. So we can, in quantity 1 and 2. So we're creating 2 orders. Okay, so this test, the database has got some information in, which is always what you want. Then we've got self token. So the self token is from the database table token, where we pass through user, and then we construct a client. So this is how we make the calls, post, get, and what have you. But what we do is we pass through in the credentials, client credentials, we pass through HTTP authorization, and then it's a string. So it's token, space, and then plus, we pass through the key from the token. So every request in this test case will append the authorization header, okay? Because items and orders all have authorization, okay? So we don't need to do that in any of the test methods. So let's look at the first one. Get all items. Okay, so this is the list that we're retrieving. So assert items.count, we're looking for 5. So this is just self items. So this is all of the items in the database. The count, we're expecting 5. Well, there should be, because we should create 5 there. Okay, so that's the first assert. Endpoint, passing through /item / that is the endpoint we've created, and we're saying that that should return a list. So we should just be getting a 200 response. Retrieve 1. What we do is we pass through the primary key from item ID. So sorry, actually we're doing a for loop. So for every item in self items, we call this again. So database says 5, we call this 5 times, we're expecting 5 200s. Okay, order is more than stock. So if we try to place an order on an item that has stock less than the quantity of the order itself, did I say that right? We should expect false. We're expecting, let's try that again. On this, we're passing an order through that is more than stock. The next one is the stock is equal, order is equals to stock, and the last one is less than stock. Okay, so if we've got more, we're expecting false. Okay, so we're expecting this to return false. If we've got equals, no problems, right? Got stock, making an order, we'd expect 200. And if we've got less than, same again. Create an order with more than stock. So this is us creating on it. So this is calling an endpoint. This is us calling the method. Okay, so we're not using client, we're calling the method in the model. Okay, so now what we want to do is try to create an order with the endpoint with stock more, with quantity more than stock. So data, so for each item, stock, so we get the stock from the item itself, get data, we'll create data. So in this case, we're passing through item and quantity, which is what we're expecting in the endpoint. And then we call the endpoint with a post request, and we're expecting 400 because we've got more quantity than stock. We're expecting 200 when the stock is less, and we're expecting 200 when the stock is equal. Okay, so we're really kicking the tires of that methodology there. Get all orders. Okay, so we're getting orders, and that's the endpoint. So we expect orders. We should have 2 orders. Yeah, we'll create 2 orders. So we've got 2 orders. And then lastly, we want to get 1 order. So for each order in our database, we want to get that order back. Okay, so it's the get request, and we're passing through the primary key, and we're expecting to see that as assert equals. So we can save this. We can go in Docker, go in API, go Python manage.py test. Should see. There we go. 18 tests. Took a second or two, because you can rationalize what we're doing there, but it's testing all of those endpoints, and it worked. First time. Fantastic. Let's go back to the preview, module 8. There you go. That's exactly what we're expecting to see. Yeah. Let's make some calls to our new endpoints. This is going to be fun. Okay, so this is going to be fun. 1 second. API. Yes, it is, right. So let me. If I go here, what I want to do. Yeah. Then let me change this to API, all 14 of them. I want to change where it says your username. I'm going to change this to Bobby, like that. And where it says your password, I'm going to change that to, what did I call it? Fred1. Don't worry, I don't use that anywhere else. So I've got my password. Again, change that there. Your token. Well, we'll change that in a second, shall we? So let's go ahead and use this here to get my token. Copy. Go into Docker. Go into app. Go into CLI. Now, I know what my token is, it's there, but I'll call it again. Oh, sorry. Let's change that to that instead. Copy. Calling this endpoint because I want my token. Okay, do you see what I've just done there? See? Okay, so I've made that endpoint, passed the username and password, I've got a token. Now I need to pass that token through to every endpoint I now call. So, come out of Zoom. I want to take that, copy it. Where it says your token, I'm going to change that to my token. Okay, now we've got some serious endpoints we can test here. Okay, so this will retrieve all items. So I'm going to save that. We'll go in there. There we go. See what I did? So when I changed local host, if I try to use that local host endpoint in my Docker instance, I won't like it because I need to call the container name because that's the host name in Docker, and it routes it to the right local host and port. So I've changed all local host. I've changed all my tokens to the right token. I've changed, I've basically created some endpoints that I can now test. So this will retrieve all items. Let's go ahead and use that one. There's no items in the database. So what we'll do, we will go in here in the browser, just make sure it's still working. Yeah, it is. And if you remember, I left admin open, right? So Bobby, happy days. If we go into items, we need some items. The reason it's returning nothing is because there's nothing in there, right? So we can go test, leave that blank, it doesn't matter. Stock, 5, price, 500. Add another. That's 2. 80, that'll do, and 9,000. Okay, save. Now if I go back into Docker and add that same endpoint, I should be seeing 2. Test and test 2. See? I've added them into the database. It's responding with a full list. I haven't got pagination or anything in there. You'll have to do that. I could do, what, 50 module course. This is just kind of giving you that absolute, the foundations, right? So now we'll go back into here and we will, this will retrieve a single item. So if I go into here and change where it says your UUID, I will change that to one of these. Okay, so let's get that one. Paste that in there. Oh, paste that in there. And I will change that one. Sorry, what am I doing here? 1 second. 1 second. I only want to change that one. Because the other ones are orders, and I don't want to use an order API. But we'll use that. We'll change that one there. Your UUID. I think that's it. Right, okay, let's not dwell too much on that. Retrieve a single item. You can see now that I've got the endpoint's different, right? So we're passing through the token. That's the curl request. But the endpoint is now item / and it's got a UUID. Okay, so it's a slightly different endpoint. So we're now expecting to retrieve just one. What's going on? There we go. That worked. So it's retrieving just one of them. Perfect. Where are we now? Okay, orders, retrieve all orders. Okay, so this is the endpoint. Copy. Haven't placed any orders yet, I don't think, so it should be blank. There we go. So if we go back in here and place an order for the only user I've got in the table, which is moi, first item, and I'm going to have 3. Save. Okay, so now the endpoint should be showing 1. But if I just copy that UUID, and if I change it, where is it? Where is it? If I change this UUID to that should, that would retrieve all orders. This one will retrieve, this will place an order. Okay, my mistake. So I'm going to place an order with this one here. I just added it in the admin page, but I'm going to now create an order using the endpoint. See what we've done here? So quantity 1, item is passing the UUID of the item. We know that's correct because I've just grabbed that from the database. So this is the create endpoint. There we go. It's just created an order. Okay. So if I do that again, and rather than do quantity 1, if I put 8,000, I know that's not going to work. It should say there is not enough stock because we validated the endpoint. But we should have 2 orders because we just created a second one. Okay, great. Where are we now? This will, okay, change your order UUID. Oh, there you go. That's why it's not finding it. Control H and just change that to that, to that, to that. So now we should be able to get that one order. Oh, no. Sorry, I do apologize. I want to get that order number. Done that in there. Okay, so is that right? There we go. Should be there. Last endpoint is the retrieve order endpoint. There we go. Perfect. That is the order I was expecting to see. Now, just to demo can you see that? I'm sorry, it's a lot smaller because it's in Docker. It's a pain in the bum, I know. But if you're following along, I've got all the endpoint calls there. You just tweak them and make them work for yourself. I'm sure I'm not too annoying. I know if you're watching this on the phone, that is just, you're not able to see any of that. That's why these endpoints are all in the module preview. See, you can read that lovely. Just make those requests based on the UUIDs that you have, the token ID that you have, and it'll all work. What happens if you pass through a call to a permissioned endpoint without a token? Let's have a look, shall we? Let's go with this. Let's try to get that order without passing through the authentication. There we go. See that? Authentication credentials were not provided. So that is the permission class that we've added. So no user will be able to access another user's orders, in this case, without the correct token. Obviously, that token gets passed through to anyone and anyone can do it. But, same as password and a username. Okay, so that is all good. It all works perfectly okay. I'm really, really happy with that. All works in Docker and it should work well on your local machine also. So they are all of the endpoints. Congratulations, you've just built your first API app. Well, it might not be your first one, but you've certainly followed along with this course and you now understand what it takes to create a fully functioning Django app that is actually a DRF API. Now this could be a standalone API, it could be a back-end API for a front-end SPA, whatever the case may be. You've built some endpoints, which are kind of the gateway. Now those endpoints are routers that route your request to the correct view set or view. That view then uses a serializer to validate the data coming in to make sure it matches what we define. So if we say it's yellow, it must be yellow, right? Blue is blue, whatever the case may be. We validate it based on our methods. If it's correct, if it's bang on, processes it. That could be saving to a database or calling a method, adding it to a celery task. Once that's completed, it responds to the user that made a request with a result or a response. Perfect. Thank you very much for bearing with me during this course. I've enjoyed putting it together. Please like this video and drop me a comment and also subscribe and click the bell so you're notified every time I add a video. Helps me grow this channel and it helps me put these courses together. I really, really love doing it. They are getting better and better and I've probably got a long way to go before they're perfect, but this is the way I do videos, right? So please, thank you very much for joining me in this this journey, and I will hopefully see you in the next course and the next batch of videos. See you soon. Bye-bye.